Running dry, NWC says Hermitage Dam has 7 weeks of water as corporate area residents see more water lockoffs. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Herman Green.
And I'm Doreen Samuels. Also this evening, containing dengue, Health Ministry deploys a vector control team.
Follow the rules. Education Minister to take action against schools going overboard with dress code. In the dark, PSOJ President slams Integrity Commission for a stance on giving updates on corruption probes. And in the financial week, building resilience, financial sector makes plans for strengthening. There's also sports commentary and weather in this newscast. But before the break, the feedback question. This evening we're asking, what are your views on ankle-length uniforms being worn by female students at some high schools? Share comments online, facebook.com/television Jamaica and tweet us at Television Jam. Please stay with us. Primetime News returns after this break. Welcome back to Primetime News. A special welcome to those of you watching onespotmedia.com. It's been a tough week for corporate area customers of the National Water Commission, NWC, as water lockoffs intensified with the Hermitage Dam storage falling to critically low levels. Even residents not supplied by the Hermitage Dam complained that they had no water. The NWC says there were several challenges over the past week which they have addressed, but with the lack of rain, things could get critical soon. From Port Royal to Constant Spring and everywhere in between, the same complaint from residents in the corporate area this week: no water. NWC Corporate Communications Manager Charles Buchanan says that's because of several issues, including the rapidly declining water level at the Hermitage Dam in St. Andrew. It's now at 25% of capacity and falling at a rate which would see it drying in about 7 weeks, if it is not replenished. The rain fell a few days this week, but Mr. Buchanan says that did not help.
One, some of the rain that is being observed in parts of the corporate area is not occurring in the Hermitage Dam watershed, which is where we need it the most, the Wagwater River, the Morsham River, and the Ginger River. The second issue is that where the rainfall has indeed occurred and where some light rainfall has occurred in the Hermitage watershed, this has not been sustained or heavy enough to make a difference.
The Mona Reservoir is currently at 70%. However, several communities served by that system, including Central Kingston and parts of Mountain View, were without water this week. Mr. Buchanan said that's because of a major breakage at the Stanton Terrace pipeline.
When we effected the repairs and restarted the system, there were other breaks that occurred, forcing us to again intervene to do repairs. So significant sections of the city were affected for 2 to 3 days by that.
He said those areas should have water this weekend. There were also lockoffs in communities in the Constant Spring Road area. In addition to the low water levels, he says there were also broken pipes linked to the road works being done. Those repairs have been completed and regular water supply is being restored. As for Port Royal, the NWC says it continues to investigate and fix several leakages along that pipeline. In the meantime, arrangements are being made for more regular trucking of water to the community. Herman.
Meanwhile, residents of Port Royal say it's now 8 days since they last saw water in their pipes. Residents have to find alternative measures to get water to their families as the problem is yet to be identified. TVJ's Kirk Wright has more in this report.
The plight of residents in Port Royal, Kingston, as water lockoffs grid the capital.
Me are frustrated with this. I go up on the road for little water and kids them beer. No man, this is bad. Port Royal? Oh God. Port Royal, am I deal with some?
When TVJ News went to the area on Friday, we saw residents improvising to get water. One said that even though they were doing so, they want more acceptable solution.
We have a hole in area. You went send trucks with water. Send it to the reservoir, full it, and let them pump it down in the town. I feel that is more convenient. Say to the citizen, look here now, we're full the reservoir. We're going to give it 2 hours of water in the morning that the kids then can get to go to school, lock it off back, 2 hours in the evening. But according to them, there's no water pressure. That's why it can't reach.
I have to pull this here up by the road so the kids them beer. The kids them cannot drink. You have to go to the shop to buy a bottle of water. This is what, Mr. 5 gallon. I'm going to pull it. If I beg the boy, them right now 3 bills. Me have to pay the young boy for pull this. I don't tell the truth. I broke. I'm a poor girl. I don't tell the truth. And I have to buy a water at the shop for $3.50. And the money. My dad have to go to school every day, and my son. School have to open very early. This is school I'll keep. This is bad.
A resident who refused to speak on camera said the lack of water is affecting schools in Port Royal.
The primary school, them have to send over the student them half day, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock. The basic school cannot open, it only open Tuesday. For the rest of the week it don't keep because you know it's babies. So the water shortage affect them.
But the impact was not felt at Gloria's seafood restaurant.
Not really, because we have our tanks and our bars keep them full. Well, we have a reservoir up by the road, so we'd like them to send the water directly to the reservoir and have them pump it down into the community so we can get it from the pipe. That way they would have to fight over water.
Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
It could be a catastrophe. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton on the possibility of a dengue outbreak in Jamaica. So far, there has been one suspected case, resulting in a fatality in Trelawney. The Health Ministry has since intensified vector control measures in the parish. TVJ's Kalisha Williams reports.
With dengue fever suspected in Trelawney, the Health Ministry is not taking any chances. On Friday, a team visited the community of Hague in the parish. It's an initiative to eradicate mosquito breeding sites across Trelawney.
This issue of vector management and vector control is a serious issue. It can affect all of us. God forbid a virus that is more potent or deadly and have 80% of your population being affected. It could be a catastrophe. And so we don't take it lightly.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton was comparing dengue fever, which is deemed even more deadly, to the chikungunya virus, which affected close to 80% of Jamaicans in 2014. Both diseases are spread by the Aedes aegypti mosquito. Dr. Tufton says that mosquito population has since been on the decline, but still, the ministry is not taking any chances.
The decline is attributable to a number of things. I mean, clearly we haven't had a lot of rain, but we have a lot of stored water because of the drought, and that counters the lack of rain and therefore creates some additional risk.
He pointed out that 500 temporary workers have been employed to carry out vector control in different sections of the island. But the public is being urged to take the necessary actions to prevent an outbreak of dengue fever.
The householders should be in a position now to be very aware of what is needed, what is to be done, because part of it is not just our effort, but also that they have their part to play also. Because when we would have educated, then for the maintenance, they're the ones who are supposed to continue the preventative measures.
Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
Education Minister Ruel Reid says he will be taking action against schools that are going overboard in their dress code. There have been concerns about the length of some female uniforms. Among the
and no, we did say that the schools were to review the policies. I don't think many of them have done so yet. I would have announced at a JJ conference, and many of them would not have revised it. So I've asked Dr. McLean to do some guidelines, because I've gotten concerns, which we were trying to say that the school need to be realistic and reasonable. Bear in mind our climatic conditions in Jamaica, bear in mind certain sensitivities. So if they're going overboard, I'm going to make a definite directive for those uniforms to be adjusted. So I've asked Dr. Matt to begin the engagement with the stakeholders so I can issue those directives if it becomes necessary.
Come Sunday, no traffic will be allowed through the 3 miles intersection in St. Andrew. National Works Agency Communication Manager Stephen Shaw says this is to facilitate the bridge construction work at the location. The closure is expected to last for at least 8 months. Motorists heading towards and from downtown Kingston will be directed along alternative routes. A double-tier overpass bridge is being constructed at 3 miles as part of the Hagley Park Road Improvement Project. The project, which is valued at $56.5 million, is scheduled to be completed June next year.
A top story today, running dry. The NWC says Hermitage Dam could be out of water in 7 weeks if it is not replenished. And still ahead this evening, go in. Road Safety Unit urges motorists to get airbags changed. And in business, news closed. As we mentioned, 3 miles area to be locked off from vehicular traffic come Sunday. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, continuing the news. The Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, is insisting that the Integrity Commission can provide the country with some information on its corruption investigations without breaking the law. PSOJ President Howard Mitchell argued that not doing so is keeping Jamaicans in the dark. He was speaking at the Rotary Club of New Kingston meeting today. TVJ's Anthony Lugg reports.
Several groups, including the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, have been calling for updates on various corruption probes now being carried out by the Integrity Commission. The probes include circumstances under which the rooms on the beach property in Ocho Rios was sold, as well as corrupt practices at entities under the former Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology. The Integrity Commission last week declared that it will not break the law to satisfy persons calling for progress reports on the investigations. But addressing the Rotary Club of New Kingston Friday morning, PSOJ President Howard Mitchell insisted more can be done. Mr. Mitchell said the Integrity Commission Act is in line with the existing political strategy to keep Jamaicans in the dark.
The law creating the Integrity Commission specifically has prohibited them from speaking of their investigations before tabling their report in Parliament. But the least that they could do is assure us that they are working on something and that we will have a report by some time, because it's our business.
So with no clear date as to when the findings of the probe will be released, it's a watch and wait situation to see who will be held accountable. That aside, the PSOJ president also wants civil groups to do more.
Civil society has failed. Civil society sits back and swallows this foolishness that we have our chance every 5 years. That is not a chance. Right? We have a duty, a responsibility, a right, and a privilege to critique, have dialogue with, demand responsibility, demand answers from those who we put in charge of our affairs.
Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
The National Road Safety Unit is making another appeal to drivers this evening to get their frontal airbags checked amid safety concerns. That is, airbags are being recalled, but Jamaican motorists are slow in their response. TVJ's Janella Pursues has this primetime news follow-up.
Dangerous and deadly. It's how the head of the National Road Safety Unit, Canute Hare, has described the defective airbags made by Japanese auto parts supplier Takata. The airbags were mostly installed in cars from model year 2002 to 2015. Locally, dealers have been making attempts to replace the airbags. However, although it's being done for free, the number of motorists taking up the offer has been disappointing. In stressing the importance of replacing the airbags, Mr. Hare likened the airbag inflators to missiles.
There are persons who have been blinded. There are persons who the ferocity of the collision and the impact and cause this metallic frame to disintegrate and become missiles, ferocious missiles. And then what happened is that it fly into people's eye, fly into people's nose hole, and go up into their brain. It also damage person's teeth, damage person's face, and create some very profound injuries upon the occupants of the motor vehicle.
So far, 19 automakers have issued recalls to replace the frontal airbags.
This affects motor vehicles, European-made motor vehicles, North American-made motor vehicles, and Japanese model motor vehicles. So all of these vehicles have been impacted, and this is what is inside of your vehicle if you have a airbag.
Luckily for motorists in Jamaica, there's been no reports of injury or death due to the faulty airbags.
Don't take this for a joke. This is a serious matter. These deadly Takata airbag inflators can be dangerous. So we implore Jamaicans, go to your dealer, spend the time. You may have to spend up to half an hour to get it done, but that half an hour is worthwhile time for your profound safety.
Janella Precious, TVJ News.
A judge has ordered that all statements must be submitted by September 20 in the case in which a female biker was assaulted by two policemen along the Mandela Highway in August. The judge made the order today when the biker, Laurie Radlin Moroso, appeared before the St. Andrew Parish Court on charges of resisting arrest and malicious destruction of property. During today's hearing, Ms. Moroso's attorney, Christopher Townsend, complained about the delay in investigators completing the file.
The police brought the file to court today. However, the file, according to them, was incomplete. So 3 or so statements are still not on the file. These are statements from other police officers who were present but has not yet given a statement after so many weeks. The matter comes back up again on the 20th of September, and if there are no statements on the file, I'm going to ask that we either go directly to trial or toss the matter.
Mr. Townsend says his client will be challenging the charges against her.
I did inform the court that we had given statement and had made a complaint at Inspectorate of Constabulary for them to investigate the matter. So the police officers are under investigation as we understand it at this time. We have also had word from witnesses who were present, persons who photographed or videotaped the entire incident, and they are also willing to come forward and to make themselves available.
The Inspectorate of Constabulary announced last weekend that the two cops seen in the video are being investigated.
Stabilizing the inflation rate remains one of the economic priorities of Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke. And if the Finance Minister has his way, the steps towards achieving it may begin as early as next month. TVJ's Andrew Laidley has this report.
Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke says he wants Jamaica to have a fixed and low inflation rate. That's why he'll be going to Parliament in October with proposals to reform the central bank.
I'm speaking about its mandate on monetary matters. So its sole monetary focus will be on the preservation of purchasing power. What does that mean? It means on strategies to ensure that Jamaican dollars can buy in Jamaica the same basket of goods from year to year.
Among the proposed changes is a plan to create a group made of private and public sector people. Their job will be to monitor the efforts to keep inflation low. They will be answerable to the country through Parliament.
It will be a monumental change. Because here, if we believe that in economic terms, inflation is enemy number one, then having an institution that is resourced and charged with maintaining purchasing power, i.e. keeping inflation low and stable, means that we'll be taking a giant step forward.
Right now, inflation is about 3%. For the Finance Minister, that rate is in the region of the 2 and 4% target, which he believes will ensure Jamaicans can always afford the cost of living.
Now, clearly, there is an external contribution, but the focus is on the bigger variable, and the bigger variable that incorporates a number of other elements, including external value. The bigger variable is inflation. And that becomes the focus of policy. And when the public understands and believes that inflation will be low, stable, and predictable, then there's no need to worry about anything else.
The Finance Minister was speaking at a Kiwanis Club of Kingston function on Friday. Andrew Laidley, TVJ News.
Tempers flared in Chelsea, Irwin, St. James this morning over Wednesday's double police fatal shooting. Residents insist 19-year-old Denrick Campbell and 21-year-old Owen Jenkins were killed innocently. TVJ's O'Shane Masters reports.
A car on fire and a padlocked chain blocking a section of the main road in the community of Chelsea Irwin in St. James on Friday morning. The aftermath of Wednesday's fatal shooting of 2 young men from the community which has left residents fuming. They claim that 21-year-old Owen Jenkins and 19-year-old Denrick Campbell were innocent and accused the police of planting the gun found at the scene. Mr. Campbell's mother, Carmen Miller Gardner, told TVJ News that she has not been able to cope with the loss of her son. She says he was her main source of help, as she is partially blind.
No, me no know, me just pop down for Wednesday till now. And me a strong woman, me a 55-year-old. And no place never do me. Me no know what else to do. Why make we can't get justice? Right now, the TV on the fridge top was mine. And I can't get no frequency at my house. And I gave it to Derrick and the police, them stole it away. Because when they went there 4 o'clock, they don't leave. When me go up there the morning, they say me cannot go through because it's a crime scene. Me say, where is my son? They say me have to go up to hospital, go look if I him. Because I no must him. Police are killing you them with one gun with the same serial number. Over. Find out that. Them some devil come up, man.
Mr. Campbell's sister, Cadian Blake, laments it's not the first time the police have unjustly killed men in the community.
They killed 2 over Irwin Bush the 7th of July and then see a shootout. And they come on the 5th of September. Go kill my brother, Denrick Campbell and Owen Jenkins, my gunman. Say, Mr. Campbell the most wanted. Why wanted for? Why do? Why do what nobody never do? Why they not talk? See, I them went trouble we first. So even if what gunman, they don't know gunman. They are no gunman, they are defenders of the earth.
The official police report on the incident did not give details on exactly what happened, except that 2 men were fatally shot during a confrontation with the police about 3:35 Wednesday morning. The report also adds that the Taurus 9mm pistol and 2 9mm rounds of ammunition were seized. The Inspectorate of the Constabulary, IOC, and the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDICOM, are probing the shootings. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Before the break, it's time for our feedback responses, and Herman is at the smartboard.
Thank you, Doreen. Well, our question today, we're asking, what are your views on ankle-length uniforms being worn by female students at some high schools? Well, our first comment here says, I don't support the long dresses. Below the knee is good for a very hot country. It is also an additional cost to parents. Fabric ain't cheap. Another comment here, what exactly is the purpose? If it's to dissuade sexual activity, a few more inches of cloth won't do so. If this is about modesty, the uniforms can be below the knee without having to drag like that. Waste of money and material. Another comment here, she says, one phrase, extravagant and uncalled for. Moderate length skirts sufficiently below the knee are more than suitable. One thing is the length, another is the horrid design. They need to keep in mind that students want to feel accomplished going to school and representing their school colors. Another comment here, it says, personally, I don't see anything wrong with it passing their knees. But what is the main purpose of it reaching down to the ankle? Kinda extra. And our final comment here, it says, let's do better than a long skirt. Let's padlock their private parts and only the parents have the key, because short skirt, long skirt doesn't prevent a child from doing wrong. Well, keep those comments coming to facebook.com and on Twitter. Facebook.com/Television Jamaica, that is, and the tweets at Television Jam. The financial week and news from overseas and the bite of the week after the break.